Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Well, it's 9 a.m., and as usual, my cat has gone to the window to sit there because there's a little baby passes by in his stroller every morning around this time. And the baby, as his mother's pushing him in his stroller, he stares in the window, my cat stares out, and they both really hate each other. It's a bit of a strange thing. So my cat waits and watches for him going past. The baby goes past, the cat hisses, and the baby gives a really evil look in the window. It's one of the most weirdest things I've seen in a long time. I didn't know cats could actually hate people, but yeah, this baby and my cat are both mortal enemies. And the baby is staring as if to give some kind of evil glance to the cat. It's it's like something from a drama, and every morning this repeats itself at around 9 a.m., which is probably around 10 a.m. Central European time. Yes. Anyway, today we're going to talk about how to describe what you hear. Now, in the past, we've been describing what you see, okay? But today we're going to describe how to actually talk about what you hear, okay? Now, when you see something, it's quite easy because you can use a metaphor, you can compare it to other things. But when you hear a voice, how do you do that? It's a little bit harder, isn't it? So, I'm going to give you some examples, okay? So, just a moment ago, I heard some voices outside my window, okay? So, of course, the first thing I can do is to describe the tone of those voices. Now, you know in British English that intonation is very important because it sets a mood. So, by hearing voices outside of my window, the first thing I do is to check the intonation because it's the intonation which will tell me if something is scary or not, or if it's something that I should be afraid of. For example, as you know, at Halloween time, ghosts, they don't just come in and say, "Hi, I'm the ghost." They usually use some kind of intonation like, "Ooh, ooh." And by doing that, you know, okay, that it's a ghost and it wants to frighten you, okay? Supposedly, anyway. It's probably just a child wearing a sheet. But my point is this: if you can't see, the intonation is the thing that you listen for before the words, okay? And that is setting the scene. And it's from there that you can begin your description. For example, I could say, I heard some strange sounding voices passing my window. Okay, and if those voices were happy, like children playing, I could say, "Oh, I heard some happy voices passing my window. I had some angry voices passing my window. I had some sounds outside my window. I heard people talking outside my window. I heard anger. I heard happiness." So the first thing you want to do is to try to catch the mood before you catch the words. So that could be adjectives like loud voices, happy voices, jovial voices, just meaning joyful. The list is endless there. So you first of all have to ask yourself, how are those voices making me feel? If they're making me feel afraid, then those voices are fearful. If they're making me feel happy, then those voices are happy voices. Okay? So there's a lot of things there to think about. So you first of all identify how the voices sound. And then from there, you can decide whether they're simply passing, whether they're static, standing still, or whether they're doing something else. All right? So they could be fading into the distance as people walk past. They could be voices which are drifting in your window. Okay, so you identify what the mood is, and then you identify where they're going. If they're standing still, and then in the last parts, you can tune in to what they're actually saying. All right. Okay, so let's just describe then a few voices. Okay, so I can say just a few moments ago there were some loud voices passing my window. The voices quickly faded into the darkness as the people passed by. So I've set a scene there which isn't dangerous, but it could be a bit stronger if those voices are coming towards me. So you could say something like, I was in my garden and I could hear the voices getting louder behind me. At first I ignored them, but I soon realized that they had come for me. Despite being warned to stay indoors, the clanging sound, the metallic sound of people's voices screaming inside the metal container told me that my fate was sealed. Okay, so it's the intonation that's really identifying these voices as well as the volume. All right, so let's do some more positive ones because, you know, mechanical objects coming to eat you aren't much fun. Okay, so let's do another one. So this time we'll do music instead of voices. The happy sound of music was something that I really didn't expect. It started off with a slight, almost tingling sound in the background. The kind of sound that you would hear in children's fairy tales as small fairies come towards you. As it got louder, I thought to myself that perhaps it was an adult holding some symbols in his hands, you know, the little finger symbols that you can hold. Very soon, within a few seconds, it seems, the noise got louder and it was accompanied by shapes in the darkness. Whatever they were, they represented for me sounds of happiness and joy. There was no way I could associate those sounds with anything dangerous. And suddenly, from behind a bush, a little face popped up and said, "Surprise! Happy birthday." And I knew I was home. So even with my intonation there, in that last part, I knew I was home, there's a feeling of safety. A feeling of safety. Okay, so when you're describing something visually, it's all about metaphor. It's all about describing the scene, but not what you see, describing the mood of the thing, as we've discussed before. And likewise, when we are talking about sounds we hear, we do more or less the same thing. We use metaphor, but we really home in on the intonation to make sure that it's setting the correct scene. And we do that not only by my intonation, but by describing the intonation of what I'm hearing. I could do it with traffic outside. For example, I heard the vehicle drawing closer. I was unclear on what the vehicle was, but with the sound of vroom, vroom, I knew that it was going to be either a delinquent teenager who was trying to be all grown up on his motorcycle, or else it was going to be a middle-aged man who was going through his second childhood. Either way, I didn't feel particularly scared at that point. There we are. So I hope you found this helpful. let's talk again soon. Oh, there's my cat at the window again, waiting for that baby to return. Strange, isn't it? Right, see you all. Bye.